This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey, I'm Frank, and I have hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Before starting Cosentyx, I was so uncomfortable with my symptoms, like not being able to sleep on white sheets or wear white clothes. Now I can appreciate the little things.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Don't use if allergic to Cosentyx. Get checked for TB before starting. Increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like TB or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if IBD symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
You're stronger than HS. Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Eagles Postgame Live. We are reacting to the Eagles' loss to the Cleveland Browns 22-13, having a little technical difficulties, but that's okay. It is preseason after all. Joining us, Eagles Eric. What's going on, man?
And we're not the only ones experiencing technical difficulties. I think the Eagles had some operational issues on both sides of the ball as well. So yeah, excited to, well, not that excited, but interested to hear your thoughts on the game. It was a tough one.
Yeah, let's just go, quick reaction, and then we're going to go offense, winners and losers, defense, winners and losers. Quarterback 3 was painful, dude. It was absolutely dreadful from start to finish. I think we can all punt all the noise of trading Tanner McKee in 2025. He is a valuable part of the Eagles' 2025 season. I didn't like the play calling on offense. I thought with such riches when it comes to the wide receiver position, they ran a lot. On defense, there was a lot of soft coverage. We'll get into that. This game is Exhibit A, why there's talk about doing away the NFL preseason. It was very, very difficult to watch. I honestly feel bad for a lot of the people that had to live through that in the audience. What's your quick take on this game?
Yeah, I mean, at least we had the saving grace of the rookies with Campbell's sack and then the Makuba pick 6. And really, those are the players that you should care about more than the guys who are likely like practice squad candidates. Until I really get in the film, I can't say for sure, but the early eye test was that those guys looked pretty solid. I can't say as much for the rest of the team.
I say we jump right into this thing. Let's start with the offense. We'll start with quarterback and kind of make our way down the offense. Starting with Tanner McKee. The dude rocks. He didn't play today. He had, 25 pass attempts during the first week of the preseason, 20 of them for 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he didn't play. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on there, and I'm glad he didn't play. There was a part of this game when people started to getting hurt, and there were some potential starters on the field that I was screaming at the TV, get them off the frickin' field. But what was your reaction when Tanner McKee wasn't playing in this one?
Here we go. Buckle up. You're going to have, 3 hours of probably pretty poor football. And, I think McCord is fine as late round draft pick. Like, you want to have some depth there to kind of replace Pickett. But yeah, I remember when the Eagles got DTR originally, the hype was overwhelming, and I was very confused. I was like, why is there hype for this guy? He wasn't even good in college. Not to, like, shit on the guy or whatever, but yeah, he's obviously not good. I do think McCord probably solidified the 3 spot, unless we're, like, at practice it's the complete opposite, and DTR is, like, dramatically better, but I just can't imagine that's the case. One of the funny things about him is, even though he is very mobile, it's either one or the other. He's either scrambling or he's a complete statue. He has no ability to navigate the pocket. Right. So that kind of nullifies a lot of the advantage you get from that mobility. It's kind of similar to, like, Michael Penix, where, like, he ran a 4.5, but he's a complete statue. So you're just not realizing the benefit of that. Yeah. McCord, he's definitely overwhelmed. I don't think he has a handle of the speed of the game yet. The offensive line was putrid. As you mentioned, the play calling seemed... I mean, whatever. The play calling is the play calling, but it's not like he was doing him any favors. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to take some time, but, I didn't see a lot of stuff that, like, impressed me. Yeah.
I think, like you said, Kyle McCord has quarterback 3 locked in, no doubt, at least right now. McCord struggled last week during his first game, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but, like, DTR was having a pretty good week of practice from all the beats that I was reading, at least. But like you said, he just was not playing well. A big part of that is the offensive line. We'll get to that momentarily. But there was a part of this game where both of those guys combined for, like, 32 combined yards, like, into the fourth quarter. It was rough. I mean, there were nightmares of Clayton Thorson going through my mind. And if anybody remembers Clayton Thorson, that's literally as bad as it gets. And it's frustrating too, because I wish Tanner McKee was out. I'm glad Tanner McKee was not out there, potentially getting hurt. But these two guys, McCord, DTR, they're not really giving the backups a fair shake to see what they got on this roster.
Yeah, and they didn't even get, like, all of the backup receivers either. Like, they got the backups, guys who you've never even heard of. So that makes it extra tough. I also wonder, it's like, what are you really getting out of that? Like, I understand you want to give these guys their shot, but what is the value to the team at this point? I don't see it at all. It's almost like a favor to the players, like, so they can audition for other teams, potentially their practice squad or whatever. But I thought there was a lot of, like, valueless football, and you're coming out and you're, like, running on 1st and 10, and then you're running on 2nd and 8, and then they load up against the pass. The offensive line is a sieve, and then you're off the field, and then it's like, now how can you evaluate? You have less plays to run because you're not giving them a chance. Like, whereas McKee, and I'd have to see if the stats back this up, like, they would come out and they would have, like, a nice concept on 1st down and, like, move the chains and just get things rolling. Now, when receivers are not getting open, your offensive line's not blocking, it doesn't help. But I just wonder, it's like, are they getting the most out of it that they could be?
Yeah. All right. Stock up, stock down. Kyle McCord, stock down. DTR.
Well, his stock down. Wasn't high. Like, and was there enough stock to even go down? Like, and I'll say that I'll actually disagree with you. I would actually go slightly stock up on McCord because remember, the first game was even worse in my opinion.
Fair.
DTR, yeah, way down.
Yeah, and I guess Tanner McKee without playing, stock up.
Wait, yes. And I want to say this, like, yes, I've been everyone's heaped praise on McKee. If you do look, it's been some, like, teams playing really soft coverage who already are terrible defenses. And the thing that I like about McKee is that he's able to process very quickly, he has a very efficient release and he's accurate. But if he has to go up against like a team that has tighter coverage and a more prolific pass rush, how does that scale? We don't know that yet. Right. So if he's insulated, I like him, but there's still some unknowns.
Yep. We've got Pump Man chiming in. Ringo and Bennett played good. We'll get into the DBs shortly. Rick and Adoree are gone. Adoree Jackson struggling again. The O-line stunk. Now the quarterback had a chance to shine. Let's jump right into the O-line because that was, especially left guard, was one of the biggest question marks heading into this one. Toth, got the start, which was a little questionable considering there's not a lot of depth there, and with all the injuries happening on that offensive line, and Matt Pryor and Darian Kennard not really getting a lot of experience or having a lot of experience at left guard, but Drew Kendall got some snaps at left guard, which was interesting. I think that first snap was a bobbled snap from DTR, which led to Hinton letting his man go and a pick six, I think, something along those lines. But general thoughts on the O-line.
It was absolutely a mess. I don't even think there was a single guy that was like immune to criticism here. Even the veteran Matt Pryor had that terrible offside or false start in the red zone, and you could see Sirianni jotting down the notes right after. And then, as you mentioned, Hinton getting beat, some wild snaps. Toth, the funny thing is, I think they mentioned this on the broadcast. He's been involved in like 19 transactions in his career, like releasing him, bringing him back on the practice squad, elevating him. And I don't know this to be the case, obviously, but I just wonder if there's like a connection outside of football between him and the organization, him and Stoutland, where they're like just keep giving him a chance, because there's no evidence that this guy can like provide value in an actual NFL game.
I don't know.
So with offensive line, it's hard to grade within just watching a game live. So I'm not going to like go out and say, oh, these guys were definitively terrible. But you could just see as a unit that they really struggled, which is disappointing.
Yep. Let's run to the wide receivers. And probably the most fun story was depth at wide receiver. It was Johnny Wilson versus Aniyah Smith versus Darius Cooper versus Terrace Marshall. Preseason week 1 was absolutely incredible with all the wide receivers not named A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But they really did not get a fair shake in this one. Aniyah Smith did have a touchdown. Terrace Marshall had 2 catches. But, the game plan from the jump was really run the football. And with the horrible performance from the offensive line, the receivers really never got going. What are your thoughts on the receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to harp back on this. Like, running a bunch of, like, gap scheme with third-string offensive line to fifth-string running backs, I just don't understand. What are you gaining from that? What did we learn? Oh, the third-string offensive line can't combo block. All right, now what? Very hard to evaluate the receivers. They're off the screen most of the time. I don't even know how many snaps some of those guys you mentioned got. The Aniyah Smith touchdown, it's great that he caught that. What terrible coverage. You have outside leverage with no help inside right from like the 10-yard line on third down, and you just let a little skinny slant. That was absurd. But okay, I'm happy. Like the way he ran, he looks a little more explosive, looks a little more confident. So I do think he will make the team. The guy who I think is probably out is Avery Williams. If you remember in the offseason, people were like, oh, this guy's our gadget guy. This guy's our returner. That's why they're not bringing back Covey. He's nowhere to be found. Like, it's not like he's making noise. The one time we had a big return in this preseason, it was Smith. So I would say he's probably out. The other receiver, I don't have much to say about the other receivers. What do you got?
I don't have anything. Good for Aniyah Smith. Happy for the dude. I mean, he's got 2 touchdowns in the preseason. I think he's going to make the roster. I think the Eagles love him, clearly. Maybe too much, but he's going to make the team. And the biggest question mark is, can the Eagles keep 6 wide receivers on this roster? I think Cooper is a lock. Anaya Smith, Johnny Wilson's a lock. Terrace Marshall, I feel bad for him, but he's definitely on the out. I'll throw it to you. Can the Eagles keep 6 wide receivers given the huge need at depth on the defensive line and defensive back?
Yeah, I do think they can do that. I've looked at the historic depth charts just to see how many people they keep at each position. They could go 9 offensive line instead of 10. They could go 3 tight ends instead of 4. They could go 2 quarterbacks and then just kind of elevate one periodically. They may have less safeties. If Andre Sam doesn't make it, they could have less corners. So I think there's a lot of places that you could carve out a spot for a 6th receiver. Now, here's the counter argument: is what value does a 6th receiver provide? This is why they tried to get Cooper out in special teams. You didn't really hear anything about that until he had that big game. They're like, oh shit, we've got a receiver here. Let's see if he can provide special teams value. My guess is minimal, but they really want him to make the roster, obviously. So it's one of those things where it's okay, if your 6th receiver is dramatically more talented than your 5th safety, then just keep the guy, even if it's not the most pragmatic based off your roster composition. And I agree with that process. I don't care to have just some random extra defensive player just so to say we have the depth, if they're terrible. You might as well go out, find someone else that gets cut from another team, and make that your 5th defensive tackle or whatever. So yeah, I am in the 6 wide receiver camp. If there was to be a surprise cut from that group, my guess it would be Anias.
Wow.
What do you think? Is there anyone else that would be possible?
It would for sure be Anaya Smith.
Yeah,
I think Darius Cooper and his upside, given Jahan Dotson's on a 1-year contract, I think Cooper is definitely the one to go with. But like I said, the Eagles definitely seem to value his impact on special teams. He's got, again, a touchdown, if they even value that. But I don't feel comfortable giving any of these wide receivers a stock down. I just think it was a bad situation to start. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I really wish Marshall didn't get hurt. There's some juice there. He's still a young guy. He's a big guy. I have intrigue about him, but he needs to get more opportunity. I don't know if he's back to 100% either. I'd like to see maybe heavy usage of him in the next preseason game, and with McKee, I just don't know if we're gonna get that. But
circling back, Anaya Smith definitely. I would favor Darius Cooper over Anaya Smith. Johnny Wilson's making this team. He's such a very good run blocker, and there we are. Let's roll on to the running backs. Not a lot. Montrell Johnson, it was really good to see him out there. I was a big fan of his and that pickup. A.J. Dillon got a few carries, didn't really do much. I got nothing on the running backs who really didn't. We're used to watching this Eagles offensive line just pummel and drive guys, and the Eagles running backs, crush when it comes to yards before contact. Not the case today, man.
Yeah, and I guess what you look for is there someone here who can make something out of nothing? And I would say the answer is no.
Yeah.
I thought specifically Keelan Robinson looked terrible. So yeah, he's definitely not going to make anything. Not even the practice squad is my guess. I think Powell is a practice squad candidate. I don't know about Johnson. He just he'll definitely need to show juice over these practices in the next preseason game. I strongly doubt he has any chance of making it. But yeah, I still like Dillon. I'm thrilled about how he's looked overall.
Yeah.
He's spry. and he does everything you need. Like, he'll pass block, he can play in short yardage, he can catch, and he's like a veteran at this point. So I'm still happy with the backfield.
Where are you at in terms of A.J. Dillon versus Will Shipley in terms of RB2? I mean, obviously, Will Shipley didn't play. I don't think he played. A.J. Dillon, I think, got the start. But I think A.J. Dillon has a little more – I'm going to sound crazy saying this. I think A.J. Dillon could be getting you big yards in the second half of the season compared to Will Shipley. That's just my gut feeling.
If you can, like – get him in the wide open field or create a giant hole, Shipley can hit it with a lot of speed, but he offers little else beyond that. He has no wiggle in the open field. He has no power. If he gets hit, he pretty much gets his momentum stopped instantly. He can catch a little bit. He can kind of pass block, but not really. So, like, yeah, to me, he's just such a linear running back, which has its value, you know. I almost like to see him in that Bucky Irving role last year, if you watch the Bucks, where they'll put him in the slot, they'll put him offset, and then they'll kind of bring him across the formation. Oh, we're going to sweep it to him. No, we're not. Oh, he's going to reverse back around. Like, that's where you can get an advantage because he's that threat. He's that speed threat, and you have a chance to get him in space that way if you do hand it off to him. But if you just line up in, like, single back and you're running inside zone or duo or something, I don't think Shipley's good. I think Dillon's dramatically better in that role. I think Dillon's dramatically better at pass blocking. I even think he's better at receiving than Shipley. Yeah, of course, you have this idea that Shipley has more potent, like, receiving ability because of his speed and how people build him in college. But I've watched years and years where A.J. Dillon has, like, very soft hands out of the backfield, can transition from the catch into running seamlessly. So, yeah, overall, like, to me, I'm much higher on Dillon.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited to see what he's got behind this, the ones on the O-line. Let's roll on to tight end real quick. Not much to really add there. There were some question marks regarding who was tight end 3. Kylan Granson, E.J. Jenkins, Cameron Latu, Nick Muse. I think Granson's got it locked in. Any thoughts on the tight ends?
I wonder who's going to be the tight end 1 next year. That's what I'm wondering about. They have absolutely no one who can remotely fill that Goddard role. I think Jenkins still has potential, but is he year or two away from realizing that? He's just, he's got a pretty crazy body and he's pretty mobile within that. So I think he has some intrigue there. Granson, he's essentially, to me, he's a power slot. He offers almost nothing in the blocking department, but he's fast and he's pretty good at catching. Although his catch radius is not nearly as big as some of the other tight ends. I feel like everything's a lot more kind of in this vicinity. He's not going way outside of his frame to make catches. So overall, I think it's one of those things where it's like you just hope you don't need him. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to keep 3 tight ends, you want blockers. And we know Calcaterra's not a blocker.
Correct.
Granson is not a blocker. So what do you do there? Like, I wonder if does Jenkins offer more in that department? We've heard almost crickets from Harrison Bryant. We haven't heard anything from him.
Right.
And so, yeah, I to me, it's more of just a question mark. Like, maybe they're going to go outside the organization to find, like, a blocking tight end.
Fingers crossed the Eagles are sitting there round 1, and maybe a guy like Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon is sitting there. Could be your.
Well, he's another receiver, though, isn't he?
I watched him run block. He's pretty solid.
Okay.
I think he's pretty solid. He's one of the tight end class is not great next year, but he's one of the few, very few, that could be a tight end 1. We'll see. I don't know. There's not a great answer to that question regarding tight end 1 in the future.
I'll be honest. So if we're calling Kylan Granson a tight end, You put on 10 pounds on Johnny Wilson, he's a tight end. Like,
you've been waiting for that for 2 years, man.
And I know I'm not like someone who's like, oh, Johnny Wilson should be a tight end. I'm not in that camp. But it's really just saying, like, okay, you're going to call Granson tight end 3. What's the point of that? Like, the idea you're going to put him in line and you're going to run some kind of power run scheme and have him block an end, that's absurd.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on offense before we roll into defense?
No.
All right, let's roll on to the defensive side. Another tough one, but if you're a fan of rookies like myself, the Eagles seem, I know it's preseason, but have absolutely knocked it out of the park with their first and second round picks this year. Yet again, Jahad Campbell had a sack on a blitz. Andrew Makuba, it looks like a playmaker. He had a pick 6. He also had a fumble recovery. And with his versatility and Jahad Campbell's versatility, they got to play. They got to be on the field. I don't know if Campbell's going to start week 1, but he's going to play a lot of snaps. There's no doubt. And when it comes to Makuba, he needs to be on the field, Eric.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people have, for some reason, have been penciling Sidney Brown in as the starter just because Makuba's been hurt. It's clear Makuba is a better player. And I'm not just saying that based off today. That's just going and looking at the history of their careers and Makuba back in college. And we knew his problem is playing ultra aggressively with a small frame, just being susceptible to injury. And he'll kind of make haphazard diving tackle attempts in open field, and that's okay because those weaknesses are not as nearly as severe as Sidney Brown's. So yeah, I think Makuba will. Campbell, they'll probably ease him in like they did with Cooper DeJean, is my guess. Probably they'll start out with Trotter and then they'll mix snaps in for Campbell. I thought, and I'll have to watch the film back, I'm definitely going to zero in on him because he did get a fair number of snaps. I thought he looked a lot more poised. The first game, he was just shuffling crazy all over, running through wrong gaps, taking himself out of the play, playing with a super high pad level, clunky back pedal, just be kind of playing crazy. And he looked more in control today. His pad level looked better. He looked like his eyes were better. Like he kind of had an idea of where the play was going. And he has one bad habit I still noticed, which is, let's say that there's a combo block and then the guard is going to come up to the second level to take on Campbell, and then the running back's coming right behind him. He will just zero in on the blocker and try to engage him. And then sometimes he'll let the running back go right by. It's like, I'd rather you keep your eyes on the running back in your peripheral engage so that you can still make the play. It's almost like he's so zeroed in on like block destruction, which that's a big area of emphasis they're making for him. So I understand why it is, but like you got to keep your eyes on the ball carrier regardless. Like you watch the best edge rushers, I think it's even a better analogy is while they're rushing, they're not just looking at the offensive lineman, they're looking at the quarterback, and then they're like, get off me. And so that way they can have the most efficient rush path, not just... You'll see the Eagles' edges, they had this bad habit, and it really showed up today, where they'll just run the corner and it looks amazing, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden the quarterback is stepped up into the pocket, and they're nowhere near him. And so it's like, that didn't really do them much good. Had they had their eyes on the guy, they maybe could have cut back inside, or they could have gone to a power move and collapsed the pocket. So it's just one small thing. But overall, I was happy with how he looked live, and I'm going to go back and watch him for sure.
Yeah. Circling back to DTR, would be nice to step up in the pocket a couple times there. Could have had a much better result. But let's just keep with the linebackers. I thought the tackling was bad overall. Smile Munden, I like him a lot. I think he's got upside down the road. But the dude cannot shed a block to save his life. Trot Jr. also struggled there at times. Outside of Campbell, I thought the linebackers did not have a good day. Any thoughts on the linebackers?
The funny thing is, it's the same tune with Trotter. Like, he sees it well, but his physical abilities massively hamstring his impact, where he'll simply not be able to get to a play in time. Even in small areas, like not having the quickness or reach to be able to grab someone if they make a cut. So, to me, it's like, what is going to happen with Trotter that's going to make him be able to overcome that? Like, you just have to be all-time level instinct to really fully overcome that, which obviously he's not at that point at this time. So I still think he'll probably start the season, and then they'll work Campbell in slowly. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's probably slightly below average. Mondin, yeah, I think he could get cut, to be honest with you. Like,
I'm right there with you.
They invested a 5th rounder, so that gives them probably a good chance, and it's not like they have a ton of depth there. That probably is what saves him. But if you were doing it purely on his play, it's just not there. When I watched him in college, I was like, oh, he has a safety build. He is that lean. And that's the weaknesses that you pointed out. It makes sense why those would be his weaknesses. And to overcome that, if you have elite sideline to sideline range and coverage instincts and special teams value, there's where you can make your impact. And I think he has a chance of doing that in the future, but it's not developed yet. And this guy, he's a talented player. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, and he played meaningful snaps for a big time college at Georgia. So I think in time he will be an NFL player, probably a special teams ace and a star backup, but it's not there yet. Probably he's going to take 2 to 3 years to develop.
For sure. Let's jump right into depth at edge rusher, right there with the secondary. I thought this was a massive area to watch today. And you look at a guy like Azeez Ojulari, who's been widely invisible so far throughout training camp. It was really good to see him get a sack today. There's been good and bad on Azeez. I think he looks really bad as a run defender. He's he's just not there. There was one time where he got beat on the edge, but if he's on the number one run defense or playing with the ones on defense during the regular season, during passing situations, I think there's upside there. He just can't play on rundowns. What was your take on Azeez?
Yeah, well, he's only getting $4 million. So what do you expect out of a player that you're paying that? Not that much. And it's the same exact thing that he did with the Giants, frankly. He was bad in run defense. And even in the pass rush department, he is invisible for 80%. And then 1 or 2 times per game, boom, he'll just flash and get a win, and he's good at finishing the play. And that has value. If you can get 4 to 6 sacks a season just randomly with that same exact move that he always wins, where he'll go to engage, get a quick pop, and then kind of just dip around the guy and go under. That's how he gets almost every one of his sacks. I don't see that changing. He has value. He's cheap. All the weaknesses you mentioned are true. And it's really a battle between snaps between him and Uche. Who's going to get more snaps as that last edge? I don't know the answer to that. I'm pretty underwhelmed by both of them. But I do think they both provide that same value where they'll just randomly get a win and get a sack, and they seize their opportunities. If they actually win, they generally will actually get the quarterback, which is nice.
From all reports, Josh Uche is having a pretty solid camp. We didn't see it today. He was out there. Not a lot of noise against the Browns, but it is worth noting, edge linebacker Patrick Johnson. The dude just makes plays. That's all he does. Does he make the 53-man roster, Eric? Or what's your thoughts on Patrick Johnson?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a tough one, man.
And I don't know to what extent have they kept him on practice squads in previous years, but that would make sense that he's put on the practice squad. And with his age, that's not a guy that other teams are like clamoring to sign. Although I think that actually has happened in the past. Like they waived him and he was claimed. Someone should fact check me on that. But it's interesting that he does seem to like be really good in special teams and occasionally flash against backups in the preseason, but never enough to like actually carve out a spot on the team. So I'm just gonna trust the coaches on this one. But yeah, I'll be honest. I do think the edge room is kind of lacking.
Yeah, it's the area. It's the area I'd like to see.
If you run up against some of these teams that will play 12 and 13 personnel and just commit to running the rock and kind of beat you up front a little bit, that can be worrisome. And where are we going to go when like Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith already have like 40-something snaps? Like you're not going to want to put Uche and Ojulari in the game to stop the run deep into like the late third, fourth quarter. And I just wonder who you're going to put out there like to stop the run as a backup edge. I think it's a position that should be addressed, frankly.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's the number one spot. Not corner, not safety. I would love to get more solid depth on edge. Let's roll into defensive tackle. All eyes were on Byron Young in this one. Didn't get to see him during the first preseason game. I think Byron Young did make a play. He had like a tackle for no gain late in this one. Not a lot going on. Some depth issues there for sure. I think Ty Robinson's going to be a stud, but he's old. He needs to develop his technique. Sometimes he misses gaps. I'm excited to see what Ty Robinson looks like down the road, but what was your kind of quick initial reaction to depth on the defensive line, interior defensive line?
Yeah, I was kind of trying to zero in more on the linebackers and cornerbacks, so I'll just have to go back and watch. I didn't notice Gabe Hall pop as much this game.
I think he made one play. I think there was one play he played that was like a tackle for no gain.
Yeah, he had one good play, and I'll say if people who watched the last post game, I was like, I wonder if he could be backup nose. That was a stupid comment that I retract. He's definitely more of like a 3-tech or 4-eye, 6'7", 295. So there's 0% chance he can play 0. But who will? That's a real question. Like Ty Robinson did.
Was Thomas Booker, right? That was kind of what Thomas Booker was.
Yeah, and Ty Robinson did do that in college at times, and he's at least as big as Booker. So my guess is that's who they would put there. Last year, people remember like they had PJ Mustafa for a time, and so backup nose. It's not, you're not like having a guy on your roster to be a backup nose, but what you really want is one of your 3-techs to be able to play inside if they need to. Like if Davis goes down or he's gassed and you still want to play your base fronts with 5 linemen and one guy's over the center, well, who are you going to put there? My guess is it's going to be Ty Robinson, but it's not ideal.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the meat and potatoes of the defense, and that is the secondary, leading off with cornerback. The preseason week 1 did nothing for the Adoree Jackson versus Keely Ringo battle, if you want to call it that. Same for joint practices. Someone's got to play opposite Quinyon Mitchell, and Ringo and Jackson have not gotten the job done. And you look at Jacorian Bennett getting our first taste of this guy. I thought he did okay in general. He made one really nice play in coverage. But, like, I feel like he's the winner given, like, he hasn't really done much, but Ringo and Adoree Jackson have had all the opportunity in the world to solidify themselves, and Ja'Cory Bennett's probably going to end up being a guy that plays the most snaps opposite Quinyon Mitchell just because of default. I don't know what they do there. I was a little worried that when I said earlier I was panicking about starters getting hurt. That's when Ja'Cory Bennett took a shot in the shoulder, and I was really getting nervous. I don't think Bennett is a great option, but I think he's your best option. And then you get into guys like Mac McWilliams, who's clearly getting an opportunity. I think when it comes to Bennett and McWilliams, their ability to go inside and outside is intriguing. I don't know what the Eagles do at CB2 right now. Eric, what's your vibe?
Yeah. And I think they've just been hoping that one of these guys, like now that there's 4 candidates, right? Then they're hoping. Sorry?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And they're hoping one of them kind of surfaces, and from the reports, it just hasn't happened. I'm really down on Adoree Jackson. Like, what are you supposed to learn when you're playing 12 yards off and you're letting a 7-yard completion, and then you're just trying to, like, rally up and make the tackle, and that's on first down? Like, yeah. You're learning nothing at all. I don't like Adoree Jackson. If he started opposite Quinyon Mitchell week 1, I would be extremely underwhelmed. I still think he's valuable as a depth piece because, like, he's a veteran, and at least he's not going to give up like an 80-yard touchdown. Bennett, we just need to see more. I'm definitely going to study every rep from the corners when I put the film back on. A few people mentioned they thought Ringo had some bad plays, but it was hard to, like, see what they were talking about. So I just have to go back and watch. I really don't know. Because you listen to some reporters and they say Adoree Jackson's got the most reps with the ones, he's going to start. And then you have like, Howie traded for Bennett. That's why, because he knows these other guys no one's won this battle. It's going to be Bennett. But he didn't start this game. And then you have other ones where it's like they've been grooming Ringo for 3 years to try to win this job. So I don't think anyone knows. I don't even think the team knows who's going to be the cornerback to week 1. And I don't rule out the possibility that it's someone not even on the roster at this moment.
Yeah, we saw repeatedly, especially in the first half, Brandon Johnson get absolutely picked apart earlier in the game. And then I'll throw this one to you, Eric. Outside of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, how would you rank the corners on this roster? Who would be your number 3 corner right now? It's not that easy.
Yeah, I don't like.
That's a concern.
I would probably try Bennett because
I do too.
He has the most like recent film, NFL regular season film against like good players where he showed that he can play man coverage. Yeah. And his main weaknesses are tackling, and part of it could be because he's had this chronic injured shoulder, and he tries to protect it by doing these half-hearted arm tackles, and that's definitely a problem. And like his zone instincts, I would say, are mediocre at best. But they also played a weird scheme in Las Vegas, so that's a total shift. Like Fangio's scheme, it couldn't be any different from what he played in Las Vegas. Like they were playing press man and cover 2. Well, guess who played like 4 snaps of cover 2 the entire season last year? The Eagles. Guess who played press man like 4 snaps the entire season? So we don't know how he translates to this. I'm definitely going to do a film study of all the cornerbacks because I think people are interested to see like who's really going to win. for people who've been watching, like in the offseason, I did a Keely Ringo film breakdown. I said I thought he could be mediocre as a CB2. He has very defined strengths and weaknesses. It seems like most people think his lateral agility is so bad that he can't overcome it, and that makes him unplayable. And then there's another camp where it's like you can play in a way that insulates that weakness to some degree, but you get in certain matchups, it's going to be a problem, and I agree with that. So there's not a great option that's materialized yet, but I was thinking, I had an epiphany. When Bennett got injured, when he tried to punch the ball out, I could just imagine them panning to the booth and Howie is on the phone with Seattle. Hey, are you going to sign Reek Woolen to a 4-year extension? I got something cooking for you. So
bring back D-Slay, please.
Yeah. I will say this. If a good option doesn't materialize, this is an indictment on the front office. Isaiah Rodgers was sitting right there for $5.5 million. Yeah. The cap hit for Isaiah Rodgers with a Howie structure is like $2 million. It's so low that he's barely even calculated into the top 53 math. So it was purely a cash savings. I think he's making like 6 or 7 million cash this season. We know Lurie was trying to save cash. But if you field a significantly less competitive secondary because you're trying to save $6 million cash after winning the Super Bowl, that's a bad decision. So either Bennett's got to be good or they got to find an option here because they had their options and they let him walk out the door.
Yeah, my biggest complaints about the offseason was Oren Burks going and Isaiah Rodgers going, and that looks really bad. That's a great take. Is they really could use Isaiah Rodgers as a depth piece right now, because for me, I'm basically out on Adoree Jackson. Keely Ringo, he's not ready. He's young, he's still got upside, but I'm willing to just hope to God that Jacorian Bennett's ready to go and Mac McWilliams, given his versatility, he can do outside, he can do inside. I'm willing to bet more on the unknown than I am with what I've seen so far. And
yeah,
like you said, like we haven't even seen Vic Fangio's real defense, which is hard. But for me, I'm going with that versatility piece, given DeJean's ability to play different roles, Makuba's ability to play different roles. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, they're still playing those corners way off.
I don't get it. I hate it.
And I don't see what you're learning by doing that. Like, oh, are they going to be able to come up, rally, and make the tackle on Cedric Tillman for 6 yards? So clearly, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like, oh, I know more than the coaching staff, and especially Fangio. Like, he's doing that for a reason. But yeah, I don't think they would play that way in the regular season game. I'd rather them just play from the depth that they would in a regular season game.
Yeah.
I personally, that zero blitz where they left Ringo on a island with Jamar Chase, I love that because that is ultimate putting him in the pressure cooker. And you learn a lot, and he learned a lot on that play. Mm-hmm. But like letting them catch 6-yard hitches with a quarterback with a candy arm who has been for 6 years has been throwing those underneath routes like on time. That's just so predictable. Like obviously they're just going to walk down the field doing that.
That's all they did.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I'm hoping I turn on the field and I'm like, oh wait, actually Mac McWilliams or actually Bennett or actually Ringo like had some really great matches or the plays where they passed off someone perfectly. I'm hoping that we see that. I really don't think we'll see that from Adoree, but we'll see.
All right. Guys, this is the part of the show. We're going to do the Eagles game in 3 words or less. If you're watching us live, and kudos to you because this game was rough. Please comment your description of the Eagles game in 3 words or less. Our guy Shane also tweeted it out. While I hit this intro, I'll go find that, see if there's any comments on that. But here we go. All right, Eagles game in 3 words or less. Trying to find the thing here.
While you're bringing it up, let me give you mine. Delete the preseason. That would be mine. Now, I will say this. It does have value. You're giving players who wouldn't have the opportunity to shine otherwise do that. You're hopefully dusting off the cobwebs, although the Eagles have no intention of playing starters. And I understand it. Like the Lions, they played their starters aggressively. They came out of the gates cooking, and then their entire team got hurt. Is there a causal link between those? I don't know. Whereas the Eagles had great injury luck through the end of the season, and they were very conservative. So it's one of these things where you end up refereeing the results, but it just makes it tough where it's like we had a game like today where I don't even think we learned that much, and it was pretty bad football.
Yeah. Edward chimes in, waste of time. There's so many different things in my head. Cut DTR.
Now, you need 3 words. Cut DTR now.
Thank you, Makuba. Outside of it, Drew Makuba, like this game was literally unwatchable. Makuba, I think, should be your starter week 1. I'm excited to see how he looks in the slot and what that means for DeJean and his elite versatility. But I'll go thank you, Makuba, because given everything we saw on defense and the concerns in the secondary, I think Makuba is a legitimate playmaker. The ball seems to find him, and I'm excited to see what he's going to bring with his versatility and coverage ability. Thank you, Makuba. What about you?
How about trade for corner?
All right.
It's just tough because like you've got 3 or 4 guys who all seem to be the same level, and that level is not the level you'd want it to be for an elite defense.
Man.
And I agree with this. I forget who I heard say this. May have been EJ Smith on PHLY say like that's one position where it can be hard to give help. And like if teams just want to put 3 or 4 receivers to one side of the field, isolate the opposite side, it's hard to help that guy. Like, yeah, you can have the safety over top, but now you may be outnumbered on the other side. Like, That's not even how they like to operate. They like to have the safety help to the strong side, or the weak safety help to where there's more threats. So it's something to be monitoring for sure.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2024, like they did that a shit ton. Like they kind of left their corners on an island. So. And
just to add a little context here, in what I would say is like Fangio, that defensive alignment, everything is kind of built off of quarters. So yeah, even if you're going into a split field look where you're playing quarters to one side and cover 2 to the other side, or you're rotating out of quarters into a weak rotation cover 3. It's built off quarters, and what you need to know about quarters is the most outside defensive backs, most of the time, their rules mean that it's turning into man coverage post-snap. If the release of the receiver is vertical upfield or to the outside, they're turning into man coverage. And vertical generally means past the level of the nickel. So whatever the depth of the nickel is, if their release is past that depth, now that's man coverage. The only main time when they're not is if the guy immediately goes inside and underneath shallow, like with low depth. So like if they did like a 10-yard crosser, still they're following that. We saw plenty of plays last year with Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell matching those crossers and batting the passes away. But like if they ran a drag route, they're going to zone off their quarters. So what does that tell you? You need a cornerback who's good in man coverage and on an island and probably against pretty solid receivers. And if you're going to pick one guy for that role, I'd probably say it's Bennett, because he showed good press man snaps last year in Las Vegas and against some good receivers. But he definitely has a ways to go in terms of some of the zone stuff.
All right. I would love before we roll into final thoughts about this one and plugs and all that fun stuff, I would love to see your all-22 video on Drew Kendall at left guard. And I don't know how many snaps he got there, but left guard's really interesting if Landon Dickerson's not ready to go. Really interesting.
Yeah. I think Dickerson, and this is my prediction, I think he'll play week 2. Because you got the Chiefs for that Super Bowl rematch. And just giving him that extra week again. To me, they should be able to beat the Cowboys without him, but they're going to need all hands on deck for the Chiefs.
Agreed. All right, that is our Eagles versus Browns post-game show. Eric, final thoughts on this one, plugs.
I'm just excited for the film to come out so I can study the secondary and hopefully tell everyone, oh, wait, we actually have one guy emerging as a legit candidate. And if not, I'm going to start perusing the rest of the league and see if there's someone out there that I should float out some trade idea for. The offense, miserable. I don't know what we've learned other than the backup offensive line is going to be really rough in run blocking, probably pass blocking as well. QB3, you can't trade McKee. You posted that.
No.
That now all ideas of unless someone is banging on your door with a first round pick, you're not even answering a call for McKee, because it's not about value. It's about Super Bowl odds. And if Hurts goes down, and it's not just do I think McKee can come in and win the Super Bowl in the playoffs? No, I don't. But can he keep you alive and get you a better seed for then when Hurts comes back and then does whatever he does in the playoffs? That's where the value really comes in. Make the playoffs. You need him to help you make the playoffs. And so I think he's indispensable.
Agreed. For
sure. So, that's my general thoughts. What do you got?
I just, like you said, punt the preseason to the moon. That was Clayton Thorson-esque. That was really difficult to watch. And again, I'm a guy that I watch every single Summer League basketball game. I love watching backups. That was rough. That was nightmares, flashbacks of Clayton Thorson football. Thank you, Tanner McKee, for
Dylan Gabriel. He's kind of an intriguing player. I remember, I don't know what to say. What was the consensus on Bo Nix? But I kind of liked him.
Better than Sanders?
Is Gabriel better than Sanders? I don't know. I just think they're different. It just depends. If you're running a Sean Payton type offense, I like Gabriel because he gets the ball out so quickly, very efficient release, knows how to navigate the pocket, turnover averse.
Wow.
If you're gonna run more of pro style and deep developing routes and play action and all this stuff, then I probably prefer Sanders.
Okay.
So,
all right. Plugs. Lots of shows coming on this week. Party on Broad, Monday night, we'll be doing more Armchair Scouts, talking more Eagles draft targets, and doing our first Eagles mock draft. Good timing, actually, on Monday night as well. Then Birds of the Round Table. Tuesday night, anything you want to plug, dude?
So, for people who haven't seen it, I just put out an interview with Cody Alexander of Match Quarters. It's all about defensive coverages, defense in general. He was a coach at Baylor for a time. Now he kind of runs his own business, consulting, helping other coaches and putting out information about defense. So check that out. It's highly informative. You can find that on my Twitter or on YouTube, Eagles Pin Pull Network. But yeah, next week we're going to be back to a regularly scheduled programming with Sam Finkel, and it's going to be a mailbag episode. So just any way you want to get it to us, whether it's a YouTube comment, a Twitter message, DM, whatever, you can send a mailbag and we'll make sure we get that in there. I always like hearing, like, what are people interested in knowing? Just to keep our pulse on, like, the Eagles and the NFL community at large. So that's what's coming next week.
All right, man. One of the best Eagles follows there is. It's hard because Riverside's like really like it's like left and right, whereas StreamYard it was the opposite. So I got so used to doing the opposite. But Eagles Eric, one of the best Eagles follows there is. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you throughout this week. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you everyone for commenting. For Eric, for myself, go Birds.